Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and here is part 3 of Lemon Boy. Thank you guys for all of your condolences for me to get better with all of your guys' encouragement. That made me able to get the video out faster. I will be starting another series and still continue this one, so give me some ship suggestions in the comments, and I will also be doing a 64 subscriber special, and it will be 18 plus. And all the characters are their time skip age in the manga in my video, so if you don't watch it. Should be out tomorrow. And warning, the video you are watching right now contains sexual assault, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share now to the video. A sensible man would have explained the situation. But after fucking up as bad as he did, he didn't dare go back to that orchard spot or anywhere that he could possibly by chance run into Ushijima Wakatoshi. That would be less than ideal. The bags under his eyes has bags. He'd spent all night focusing on kissing that lunatic, and was currently standing in a grocery aisle in front of a bottle of lemon tea zoning out. Catching himself in the glass and his spaced out look, he pointed at his reflection and spoke firmly. "You're not here to play hide the tongue in some psycho's throat. Concentrate." Tendao sighed. He felt a billion years old. He had just gotten out of a relationship. Why'd he have to go kissing strangers? He could remember the look they gave him. It wasn't something to be taken lightly. It had been deranged, but maybe that was his memory twisting it. Maybe he was taking it out of proportion, but Tendao had a penchant for trusting his gut, and Ushijima Wakatoshi was no good. Get me the gummy bears, Yano. The red ones. Tendao either had impeccable timing, or incredibly bad luck. He inwardly groaned. There was no mistaking who it was. It had to be Ushijima. He grabbed the nearest packet of iced tea, and jammed it into his basket, hurrying. That voice hadn't sounded far off. He bent down low, so that he couldn't be seen through the aisles as he held onto the shelf, creeping along. A confrontation right now would not be good. Anything to do with that psycho would not be good. He crawled along. His back ached, begging him to get out of this position, but he knew better than to just stand up and dilly-dally in a store this small. If he was strategic, he could avoid them. He came to the end of the aisle, and looked left and right, peeking around the corners into the next aisle back. Thankfully there was nothing but bewildered customers looking at him, like he lost his damn mind. "Yeah, I know I look nuts." He spoke harshly. Ushijima had him looking like a maniac. He sighed, moving quickly to another aisle. He was getting closer towards the exit, just a few more aisles, when he remembered something. He was completely out of tinned peaches. He stared at the checkout counter longingly. Escape was just a handful of products away. He could just leave. Have the cashier scan his items, and avoid all confrontation. But for 7 years he hadn't been without tinned peaches. Maybe the city had spoiled him, but he had no intention of eating dry cereal without any tinned fruit. He sighed, crouching down and turning around, back into the fray. His back would not thank him later for all this crouching. In his mind he knew this was stupid. In fact, he knew that it was probably more than stupid. He was quite vividly questioning his sanity. He was cautiously stepping through the aisles, checking each end, watching every corner. He passed the cereal aisle with its rather bland but comfortable selection, cursing inwardly when the tinned fruit wasn't stocked in this aisle either. It seemed the small store, in which he thought was almost quaint, had become an obstacle with its zany placement of goods and his pressed for time. He could feel himself starting to panic. His heartbeat felt so loud he swore it was pounding in his ears. This felt like the worst stealth mission set on extra hard. The cheesy store jingle was no longer humorous, but a countdown before they found him. The aisles seemed both too short and too numerous. He felt like they would turn up at any moment and catch him crouching like a dumbass. It felt like he had explored, give or take, about 100,000 aisles. Maybe it was the tension that made it seem like he had been in the store for hours, but sweat was pooling on his lower back, his feet ached, and his legs felt like they were stilts. He knew his body would pay for this dumb idea. He could have cried tears of joy when he finally turned into the aisle of tinned goods. This was what heaven looked like. He made his way over the aisle, scanning the names of the goods: tuna, peas, corn, mushrooms, peppers, his eyes reading each label carefully. He was looking for peach halves. They weren't as juicy as whole peaches, but they took out the effort of cutting the peaches up themselves. Pickles, canned hot dogs, mashed potatoes. It seemed like they had every canned good in the store. He sighed, running his hand over some canned goods. Damn, where were they? He was just about on the verge of giving up and going home before his eyes saw a singular random can sitting on a high shelf. Eureka. Oh, thank God, they have normal tinned food here. He straightened up his back, allowing the stiff muscles some relief. As he sighed in happiness, he reached towards the single stacked can. Just as he placed a hand in the can, someone else's hand grabbed his, seemingly reaching for the same can. He paused as he accidentally ended up getting his hand held. Are you kidding me? He went to tug the can out from them, but their hand was strong. Gee, give me the can. Soon the hand was holding his, and half the can. L, let go. I seen it first. A voice racked back. First grabs, first dibs. You let go. There was a tug of war between them. He'd never fought someone over a can of peaches before, but he would be damned if he let them have it. He grunted with effort, gripping it like it was the keys to paradise. Yanking with all his might. Crash. The person on the other end must have collided its the shelf as it rained peas and corn cans over him. He let go of the can as they yanked back to fend off the mountain of canned goods, which nearly gave him a concussion if his hands hadn't been up. As the mountain stopped, he could see the person through the shelf and gave them the meanest glare he possibly could. That was me, Tendao? That one word seemed to make his body go numb. There was a pause. He couldn't see who it was properly, but he knew the way those dull green eyes crinkled, like the person behind the shelf was smirking a smug fucking grin. Matched with the way the voice seemed to roll his name in their mouth, like they were pleased to see him. Fuck. He grabbed his basket, not bothering to answer the stranger behind the other end of the shelf. He bolted to the edge and turned point smack. His face crashed into a warm chest. He stood there shocked, his cheek pressed against a soft cotton shirt. It smelled like lemon rind and earth. Cozy came the harsh twang of a voice, making him realize exactly what he was doing. He threw himself off them, ready to give them a piece of his mind, when his foot rolled itself on a can of tin food. He could only let out a small gasp as he went rocketing back. He closed his eyes, ready for a nasty meeting with the floor, when a hand grabbed his shoulders, holding him place and leaving him dangling and at the mercy of the man holding him. One strong hand grabbing his left shoulder. He looked up, ready to thank them, when it was none other than Ashijima Wakatoshi, who was sneering at him. What's the rush, pretty boy? He looked every bit the crackhead Tendao remembered him as, except if possible he looked even more disheveled, his cheeks more hollow, the bags under his eyes more pronounced, the thinness of his face and ugly jeer. That disgusting excitement that lit up in those cold eyes. This could not have gone worse, Tendao bitterly thought. He tried to brush off their hands on his shoulders, but winced when their grip dug into him. Avoiding their gaze. Oh ow, damn it, let go already. How the fuck could someone so buff be so strong, he thought to himself, trying to pry their fingers off him, but with no luck. It's like they were welded to his shoulders. He looked at their solid chest. Their throat. Anything to not look into their eyes. But when they refused to let go, he started to feel himself getting angry. He growled at them, shy of snapping his teeth at this moronic idiot. But then he stopped moving when he met their gaze. They liked this, him struggling like this. It was like they getting some sick high off it. He could see it in the widening of their pupils and the glint of their teeth grinning at him. AWW, come on Tendao, don't be like that. With an inhuman amount of strength they flipped him, making his back crack into a shelf, the whole thing wobbling like it was going to topple over. He yelped. His body had really been put through the motions today. His eyes wetting around the edges, he held in a sharp hiss of pain. That hurt, asshole, let me the hell go. They were in his face, their gaunt hollow appearance close enough he could see the specks of dirt on their face, their dull Olivia eyes cloudy. They spoke softly, but it was a threatening kind of softness. Ain't you city fuckers have any manners? They looked like they were high, their pupils didn't look natural, and there was a wetness to their face, like they were sweating too much. He could count the veins in their eyes strained from something, whatever he said dying in his throat. His stomach felt like a washing machine on spin cycle. It was very rare he run into many people that could scare him into shutting up. But something was really wrong with Ushijima Wakatoshi. It didn't feel like a normal reaction the way he could switch to violence so easily. But there was also this feeling, this chill, when they get close. Please just give me the peaches, so I can go, he said breathlessly. It felt dangerous to even breathe, like they would snap. He saw that shit-eating grin spread on their face, the stubble almost scratching his face. AWW10 I can't give you my peaches. Finders keepers to make their point, they backed away, but it was still in a way that made his heart sink as he saw their slimy looking tongue lick up the side of the can. Oh fuck, I don't want the peaches, he thought sullenly. See, I licked it to claim it. He sneered childishly, making Tendao clench his fists. He opened his mouth, but they were suddenly on him again, their body slamming into his and pinning it against the shelf, their voice tingling in his ear. Just like this is mine. His breath itches as that disgusting tongue curls in the delicate shell of his ear. MMMM. He almost snapped the cheap plastic handle of his shopping basket. He was holding it so tightly. It was hot and too wet, like a snail was sliding on the inside of his earlobe, wetting the delicate shell. He squeezed his eyes shut, begging it to end quickly. But then a hand pressed on his lower stomach, feeling him up. He groaned, it rumbling deep down from his stomach. The texture of their rough fingers on that exposed strip of stomach. It wound something up inside him as he stared, open-mouthed and stunned as a fish, as they eyed him with something akin to possessiveness. Oh god, he was being sexually harassed over a tin of peaches. A thumb stroked further down, touching the waistband of his jeans, making him jerk further back into the shelf, but there was no room to escape. His eyes dropping down to their fingers feathering the tip of his band in the middle of a store. He heard a soft chuckle, and looked at them with as much desperation as he could muster. Watching the way their eyes changed in the light. Please don't. His words breathy,